Yeah.
How are you?
Well, I got something I want to talk about.
Okay.
I got
Well, what do
something
you want to talk about?
Ripped from the headlines.
Okay.
Not really. So this was several years ago. We had a client, and I want to know the details of how both you found out about it and your thoughts about, the consequences of this. But they were a very tech-savvy couple, and they had a nanny cam running through the house for any time someone came through for a showing, or more specifically for an open house. They streamed it at work while they were having an open house, and obviously hidden cameras.
Yeah, right. And we didn't know that we were being recorded at the time.
Yeah, as their listing agent, you didn't know that they had done this. They did not tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Actually, it was kind of creepy when we found out. I should say that, like, these days, it's so much more common and prevalent that you almost go into someone else's house expecting to be recorded. Like, you almost always act like you're going to be recorded. And so you, like, prep your people and you prep yourself and all that kind of stuff. But this was, like, I want to say about 2015-ish, maybe 2016, yes, somewhere in there. And so that wasn't a thing yet, and it wasn't prevalent. Like, it wasn't even like everybody had those doorbells with the cams where you could see, who's coming to your door and stuff. Mm-hmm. It wasn't quite so prevalent. So this person was particularly techie and kind of worked in like, I think, like a video sector, surveillance or like security cams or whatever. Anyway, so they put cameras in the home, and there was sound and video, and they were live streaming the open house at work. So like their colleagues were watching it. That's actually how I found out, because like one of the coworkers was also a client and was like, hey, I think you should know about this. Anyway, so obviously, like, the idea or probably what the people are thinking is that when they can hear, what everybody is saying in their open house, they will get a competitive advantage, right? Like, they'll know, like, hey, these are the people that were so excited, or like, I saw them in the bedroom, like, discussing their offers or whatever.
They were just like, they better not touch my shit.
Yeah, well, I think it was a mix.
Yeah.
I think they just wanted overall to be doing surveillance on their open house, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and I still don't even really know how I feel about that, because like at the time it was definitively creepy, right? Like, what do you is that creepy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think people should do that, no.
Right.
But you're letting people into your home.
Yeah, yeah.
And people have different comfort levels with that.
Totally.
They weren't creepy clients.
No. They weren't. Yeah, just like this thing was kind of, and to the point where the coworker, they felt uncomfortable and like felt the need to say something, right? Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like that. But so that was kind of an interesting thing in time. But I think the reason that it's just kind of interesting to talk about, because now it's a thing. Like, now most boards have regulations on how you do surveillance. There's like laws, there's like criminal code in Canada anyway. We have criminal code on like voyeurism? Mm-hmm. And like the rules around when you can video people and when you can't, right? So like, since then, it's like really something we think about in our industry all the time. And I think, so now we just accept it, and it's like, yeah, if you want to video people, or if you want to video your home, or have like videos or have cameras set up in your home, and even sound recording, you can. But the question is, what are you really gaining from that? Like, is it hurting your sale or helping your sale?
Well, I think you're supposed to disclose. I mean, there's no, again, some of this stuff is immoral, not illegal.
Right, yeah, exactly.
You're supposed to disclose stuff. I think the board, it's not so much, they can't really do much if you do choose to record. They'd like you to disclose. I don't know if they can take action if you don't, but what they can really get down on is what you do with the video afterwards. Like, if you're sharing it, or if it's, I don't know, whatever you choose to do with it, or if it's like something, what was it? I think you say it better than I do with the if a person has a reasonable right to privacy in a situation.
Right, yeah. And that's like the actual criminal code is like, that's the voyeurism laws, is like if you have an reasonable expectation to privacy. So we all know you can't like record in a bathroom or record in like a locker room or like change rooms or whatever. But, but flipping that into someone coming through your home for commercial purposes.
Which they did not do, as far as we know.
What's that?
Film in their bathroom.
Yeah, we don't. As far as we know, we don't actually know. Yeah, but like, Yeah, so I'm sure, like, yeah, not to make this like a big like criminal debate or like, legal debate or anything, but just in terms of like bringing it down to like the ground level of real estate, I know for me now, I expect to go into a home being recorded, right? And so, we used to say this to our clients just based on open houses, like poker face. Put on your poker face. Don't walk into an open house and don't, give away too much about your hand. Like, don't necessarily say, like, hold hands jumping up and down in the kitchen, right, screaming like, I love this place. This is awesome. Because like, if that happens, if the listing agent sees you do that, good luck negotiating any money off the price if you need to, or, what have you. So we used to prep our clients for like what the decorum should be when they're going into open houses. But now it's like all of us have to walk into a showing with our poker face. We can't discuss certain things. You can't openly talk, or you can, but you just assume that you just have to have in the back of your mind, is this information I want the seller to know, or is this information that I can't convey to the seller? And like, to me, I think that there's times where you're probably doing yourself a disservice, because if somebody really likes a home and they want to hang out in the home for like an hour, or not an hour, but like, or maybe they do, like, but for a period of time, they're trying to get comfortable with the home and they start to like want to go over real objections or bring out their real objections. So most of the time when our showings get longer, maybe we've gone back a second time or whatever, you really want to be able to discuss stuff in the home. You want to be able to talk about like, hey, this is how you would arrange your furniture, or this is how you're doing that. And if I have to say to the people, we're going to have a look through and then we're going to go talk somewhere else, like at a coffee shop or in our cars or outside, it kills the opportunity for them to envision themselves and see themselves in the home. Mm-hmm. It kills the opportunity for the agent that they're with, for them to candidly bring up objections and for that agent to be able to handle those objections. Right. So like,
and it gets tougher when there's tenants, but yeah. Sure.
Yeah. And then having a tenanted property is like a whole different dynamic. But so, you as the owner, you're now kind of putting the people coming through your home or potential buyers in a position where they can't talk inside the house. And there's not everybody's hardwired like this, but there's a specific type of analytical buyer that needs to sit and be in the space to make their decision. Right. So like I've had buyers where they're like, I want to know, I'm buying a condo and I want to know if it's noisy. And they sit there on a Friday evening. They want to go see it on like a Friday evening at like 7:00 to know if the neighbors are partiers or, things like that. And when you're like sitting there being, videoed and you're being videoed, it can get awkward and you're just not going to do that. You're going to be in and out. The length of the showings has dramatically decreased, I find, when you're just running in and out because you're being recorded.
Yeah, I had a similar experience where, I attend a lot of inspections and we were with the client and the inspector, and apparently the inspector was being followed around by the homeowner the whole time, and finally I had to tell him, hey, let me do my job. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh no, we had this replaced wherever. They want to say all of the minor things that don't really matter about the house, right? Yeah. And then so we come gather in the living room for the walkthrough, and the homeowner again comes in and asks if we need anything, and we're like, hey, can we get some privacy? We just want to discuss it, no offense. And he was fine with that, but he'd just say, oh, let me just, and he put something down, and then later on at the end, I kind of noticed those like the audio levels, like kind of what I'm looking at on this laptop over here. So those audio levels were going up and down. I'm pretty sure he was recording the conversation. Right. I don't know that he benefited at all. It was just kind of annoying. Like he was just and it happens all the time in inspections, right? They want to know how they can objection handle all these little minor details or whatever. Yeah. But it still was. Often we've had to do the walkthrough outside of the house if someone's not willing to do that, and then they can't like go, hey, let's go look here, see this outlet, it's not GFCI or something. You lose that kind of tangibility if you have to go do it off site.
100%. There's like a connection with the property and with the home when you can have the conversations on site and you can show people things in real time in reality. This isn't so bad, or here's where these things are located, or it does have these features that you wanted. Because oftentimes too, once you've left the house, I mean, like think about a showing tour, right? You're going to see 5 properties. Yeah, they kind of like the one, but by the 4th one, they've forgotten, if not starting to, but they've forgotten everything's meshing in one. Like every time we do a showing tour, I have this thing where I call it the Frankenstein house, because like by the end of it, all the houses have melded, or all the properties have melded into one giant property. That's like, was it the 3rd one we saw? Was it the 2nd one we saw? Or like, but we've had to keep going and we haven't had time to like sit in it and be in the home and be candidly, openly talking about it.
Especially once you're about to make the crucial decision, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I know that in the past you've done this, I think for walkthroughs, or even just that final visit, you've paid tenants, hey, here's coffee on me, and then you follow up with a bottle of wine afterwards just as whatever, right? Like, it's so important. If they're not willing to leave on their own, incentivize it a little bit, like get them out of the house.
I
It's
see
so
what
important.
you're saying. Yeah. So like, okay, yeah. So video surveillance is one thing, but you're taking it to the step of like, if the people stay home and tenants
Well, the point is
stay
that you
home.
can be comfortable and have privacy in the house.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%. I think you're doing better. But like, what do you think? Do you think it's like, is the seller going to get some information? And I think now that we all expect to be recorded, like, I don't know many realtors that are having candid conversations inside homes with their clients the way they used to.
Yeah. I don't know. I still don't expect to be recorded if I'm in someone's house. Or should I be? I've been doing this all wrong.
Yeah. Well, I guess, yeah, some people do flag it for you, so you kind of just go in knowing it. But yeah, I go in assuming that I will be. So yeah. But what do you think? Like, do you think the sellers are gaining anything? Like, I mean, obviously, if you've got somebody that's like, yes, I love it, like walking through the house, and you know, like from a negotiation standpoint, that person wants it, and you're going to hold firm. But are they going to do that? Like, are you actually winning by creating that situation?
I usually let you handle the negotiation. So.
So it's all on me. All right, fine. So poker face. Well, like, I just think this is a new reality. I think before it was creepy and we didn't all know that, like there was a period where we didn't know, was it happening, wasn't it happening? But I think now it's very clear that it's almost always liable to happen. You're at least getting recorded probably when you're walking through the front door. And then you're and especially like, the baby cams and like all that kind of stuff. Like I think you can assume you're being recorded. Or should assume. Yeah, there's a reasonable expectation for that. It's and I think mostly like the doorbell cams and things like that. Like some people, like our producer Marianne, has to watch for bears because she's living in an area where, rural settings, you might have that kind of thing. But most commonly, it's going to be to track your packages, right? And your package delivery. That's what most people are doing. So it's just already there.
Or having, paying for security camera surveillance for security reasons, right?
Yeah.
Lots of people still do that. But that doesn't get live streamed at work. Or it doesn't really get monitored unless there's an issue. Well,
and that's why this example was so extreme, because it was like, you're really live streaming your open house. That just and it wasn't like publicly, allegedly. It's like, yeah, okay, so now we're operating under the assumption that we're being recorded, right? And I think two points came up was like I've told clients visibly disconnect your like baby monitors and stuff, so people can see that it's disconnected and can have a level of ease and comfort in your home.
I mean, it's kind of like part of staging or home prep, right?
Totally.
If this is going to make people uncomfortable in your home and want to leave quicker and not take in the full comfort and ambience of your property, then it's a negative selling feature. We've come across this, but like I've had clients who have not our clients, but as you're going through a property and you see nude photos of the sellers, right? That makes it uncomfortable in the house.
It does. It can shift the mood very quickly. And that's the thing. Okay, so there's like a couple of good points that got brought up, but I want to really touch on, I often try to describe to people the dimensions of what goes into the decision of buying a home. Because like, I've watched hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of buyers buy properties, and I'm in there and there's a palpable moment. There's like something in the air when you feel it, when they're like, this is the one. Mm-hmm. It's a feeling. And I often say to people, like, it's going to show up like your criteria is 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1,000 square feet, whatever size lot. That's going to show up like 1,000 different ways. Like on paper, lots of different homes are going to fit that. But there's going to be a moment when you walk into a house and you feel it, that it's the one. And that feeling is what's going to is what makes you fall in love with a home. It's what makes you pay extra for a home. And the way that we try to create that feeling, as people who are marketing properties, we're trying to create that feeling for as many buyers as possible. We want them to walk in and like have that thing that's intangible, but very powerful and palpable. And so we do it through staging. We do it through home prep. We do it through lighting candles and making it smell good. There's so many dimensions to getting that feeling. And the weirdest thing can tip it off or can throw it off. It's like a magic, and you don't want to break it or interfere with it. So yeah, nude pictures of yourself kills the vibe for sure. It's actually a good one, even though it's not a camera. But cameras can do that. It's like, I like this so much, but I feel off. Like the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up, or like something's weird and we've lost the magic of that home. And instead of like living in the magic and moving for it, because make no mistake, like as much as buyers say they're looking for the stuff on paper, they need the stuff on paper. They're searching for that feeling. That's what's going to make it the one.
That we all like to think that we're all perfect rational actors,
right?
That we can just go and see this, add up all of the, like an appraiser would add up all the details and do the comparables, and you come up with the price, and that's what you pay. Why would you even have to negotiate? But Darren Hardy talks about this a lot. Where all buying decisions are emotional,
right?
Like even if you think that you're a perfect rational actor, it's still there's some emotion in why you desire that particular house over another one.
Yeah, what was that book with Darren Hardy where he talks about that?
It's goes through all of his writings, I think.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember the specific book.
Okay, well, anyway, so check out Darren Hardy on that. But like, it's true. There's an emotional, especially with a house. The only time you're not going to get that, and it's not even all investors, it's a very specific class of investor that will buy property sight unseen and like 100% unemotionally, and it just has to check out on paper. But most of the time you're chasing that feeling, it's going to come out in the criteria. So anyway, so when you've got the cameras on, it kind of like interrupts that. And like, Marion, our producer, was just saying, like, when she was shopping for her home, that happened to her, where she was like all of a sudden so acutely aware that she was being recorded, and all of a sudden she didn't feel like she was in her home. She felt like she was in the owner's home, and it couldn't like bridge that gap of feeling connected to the property anymore. So I think that's like, and it was a beautiful property, but it just felt off all of a sudden. And hey, you can go find 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, whatever square foot yard somewhere else and connect somewhere else, right? So that, I think that was important. I do want to kind of circle back to what Dan had mentioned though, because he was talking about what you do with the information, right? So like there's like this like, hey, we're recording, but then what are you going to do with it, right? How do you use the information? Like we all know our phones are on, our phones are recording us all the time. It's like as the seller, like, yeah, like what do you think's going to happen, and how, like, I guess, again, I know that's not always intentional, but I think when you're inviting people to come through your home, you have to start thinking about these things. Like, am I recording them? What am I going to do with that? It becomes a part of the conversation.
Right. And a lot of sellers may not be comfortable having, we have to deal with like, hey, you have to do an open house. Hey, you have to let other people come into your house and see the property or it will not sell. You can't just you do pictures, right? People want to come into the house and do that. So if they are uncomfortable, how do you manage that? If like hey, can we just record it? Like probably you don't get asked that.
Oh, it happens all the time. People are like, can't they just look at the video preview?
Right.
And you're like, no, I need them to walk in and fall in love. Three-dimensionally.
If obviously some sellers want you to move your shoes. Some say don't touch. We had a recent one where they don't touch the curtains, or we hear about that one a lot. But do you have some way?
That one a lot.
No, this is particular to client. But anyway, so do you have to prep your clients to say your sellers to say, hey, there's going to be people in your home. This is the process, and when you go to buy your next home, are you going to want to go in and see it?
Totally. And you bring up a good point of like, hey, how are you going to shop? Like, let's put yourself in the buyer's shoes. The whole thing about prepping, or like being the listing agent and prepping people for putting their home on the market, you're merchandising your home now, which can be a very uncomfortable feeling for people. And like having them let go and let the buyers do what they need to do to feel comfortable with their new home is so like, it's a conversation. Yeah. The psychology of letting go of your home and then being like, your merchandise now. You got to let it go, and you got to let people come in and shop with, for the property. And it doesn't matter if like, if that person comes in with their toddler and their toddler has a lollipop and it falls on your or something like that, you got to like almost let go of those small things, because of like not worrying about what their kid's doing so they can evaluate if they're going to pay more money for your home is what needs to happen. You almost have to just allow that to happen. I remember one where like there was a kid in the house and they moved a Barbie doll from one room to another. And I guess it went from one kid's room to another kid's room. And those kids did not like their Barbie dolls being in each other's rooms. And they demanded a written apology from the buyer. And it was like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it stinks that happened, and probably that kind of like got your kids upset. But you got to, as a parent, you have to like, no, like sit your kids down and be like, look, we're selling the house. We're going to get a better house. Maybe you offer them, but these things are going to happen. People are going to come in and like feel their way through your home, and they need to, in my opinion.
Did you get that apology?
I think I may have written that one myself just to make everybody happy. I don't know. But yeah, obviously you don't want to be offending people and being disrespectful when you're going into their homes, but you're a product, you're on the market, and you have to conduct yourself that way when you're a homeowner. Okay, so, but you know what, honestly, like just to circle back, I think the perfect way to end this though, because I mean, there's so many directions we can go in, but it's like right now, I'm really wanting to know, like, do people find it creepy, or is there something you're taking away from the buyer's full experience of the property when you're recording them? To me, this is an ongoing discussion. I don't think this topic is anywhere near solved, resolved, or over. And I'm so curious, like, we're kind of giving our personal opinion. I feel that it's removing something from the experience, whether or not we even think it's still creepy or not anymore. But I genuinely want to know, like, if you have a comment on this, how do you feel about being recorded in a home? How do you think your buyers feel? I'm so curious to know what people think about this.
Yeah, I think that for me, I would have no problem if I'm being recorded outside the home. But as soon as I step inside, I think it's creepy if I'm getting recorded.
Right. Interesting. So yeah, please let us know. We're so curious in the comments. Is this creepy, or is this just the world we live in now?